going on, all you Marvel fans out there? This is Apocaflix Movies, and we are here to talk about Captain America Civil War. This is our non-spoilers review. Yeah, you heard it, non-spoilers.
Our first one.
Yeah, our first I mean, we've done them in the past, but we didn't specifically go out of our way to do a non-spoiler review. We're doing it for all those people out there who might not have seen Civil War yet. We know, because we see these movies opening night. So there's a lot of people out there that see them the next weekend or Saturday or Sunday. So this gives you guys a way to hear our thoughts about the film without us spoiling it for you. But don't worry, we are also going to put out a heavy spoiler discussion review, and that way those are like 20 to 30 minutes, and it gives those people who did see the movie something to listen to, so where you can hear about our thoughts on specific details about the film. But with all that out of the way, let's jump right into it. I'm your host, Jacob Bartley. I'm here with Jake Berlin. No Gio Ramos today, but how you doing, Jake?
I am freaking fantastic. Civil War, dude. Yeah,
we're going to get into that. I'm doing well as well. I freaking am so pumped. Like I said in movie news, we went to like a 10:20 showing last night, and I had to work at 5 a.m., so I practically didn't sleep. I slept for like an hour and a half. That's a freaking nap. So, yeah, I'm tired. I'm drinking some coffee, but I'm ready to go. I'm ready to talk Civil War. So let's get into it, man. Jake, just your general impression of the film after seeing it last night.
I think, I'm so impressed because I think Gio, I think we all had very high expectations for this movie.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
From the very beginning, just because, one, Marvel's track record is the best around, and two, it's the sequel to The Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And
which a lot of people consider
the best in the Marvel movie. So, going in, which you don't ever want to do, because we kind of did the same thing with Batman vs Superman. We don't want to go in with too high expectations, but when you go in with high expectations and you walk out with better results of high expectations, I mean, that's a triumph. Like, it's remarkable what they were able to accomplish with this movie and all of the moving parts. Like, we've talked about it since last night till today of how, like, all the stuff that goes on in that movie. And from the opening moment to the final, to the post-credit scene, you're locked in. Like, there isn't a moment where you're just like, oh, I don't need to see this scene. This scene does not need to be here. And it's just the Russo brothers, I cannot applaud them enough for what they did. And, you mentioned a lot, but the fact that there's two of them, it makes this movie so much better. There's such a good flow. The action is probably the best I've ever seen in Marvel. It's fast-paced, it's violent, it's heavy. It gives you the biggest smile on your face because you're watching a true superhero fight go down, and the character stories, and it's just, yeah. I mean, I was blown away by the movie. I'm super impressed by what they were able to accomplish. They delivered on all of the hype, and you don't ever say this, but 8 years ago this universe started, and we are just as excited to see what happens next 8 years later.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, there's no question about it. I absolutely love this movie. It exceeded my expectations, which is insane because they were so high, and all the critics that we follow online, they already saw it like a month ago. So, you can't watch one of their videos without hearing their thoughts on the film, and everyone has loved it, and I haven't heard any negative reactions to it. Even though it only has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know what that's about. But that's still a high score. I can't imagine
someone 91 is like a perfect number.
Yeah, I can't imagine someone giving it. But not everyone's a fan of these comic book movies. Mm-hmm. So, the Rotten Tomatoes are a lot of critics. So 91 is really high. But, I love this movie. And I got to mention, first and foremost, I'm a Spider-Man guy. Spider-Man coming to the Marvel Cinematic Universe for the first time is so special to me because he's my favorite comic book superhero character of all time, and you will be very happy with what they did with Spider-Man in this film and his introduction for sure. I know I was, especially all you hardcore Spider-Man fans out there. I am one of you, so trust me, you will be satisfied, and that's not a spoiler. Just the action is amazing. Everyone's talking about the action. I do think it is the best we've seen in probably any comic book movie ever. But I think it's different action than what we got in Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier had a lot of hand-to-hand combat. This movie has a lot of powers being used. So it's very different type of action.
It's heavy. It's very heavy.
And it does have that hand-to-hand combat, just like Winter Soldier, but it has a lot more powers being used, which is amazing. I loved it. The thing, a lot of people were worried about there being too many people in this film, too many heroes, too many big characters in this movie. And I gotta say, they did a great job of not making it feel crowded. Every character is introduced, and it doesn't feel forced, and it feels fluid, and it doesn't interrupt the story. I didn't feel like one introduction took me out of the film or slowed down or put a pause to the momentum of the movie. And I think that's something that cannot be overlooked. Overall, like it's such a fantastic action movie, dramatic piece, thriller. Even the comedy works great. It's subtle. It's not in your face, but there's a lot of it, and it really works in this film. It fits the characters who bring it. So, yeah, overall, just a phenomenal film. And I know it seems like we just praise a lot of movies, and especially these comic book films. Like, we didn't love Batman v Superman, and that's our opinion. We're not just agreeing with other people who didn't like it, but we're not just over-exaggerating I'm not over-exaggerating how much I love this movie. It is freaking fantastic, and I can't say, much bad about it. So, Jake, if you were to point out, some spoiler-free negatives, is there anything you can bring to mind?
I think, one that we talked about probably like a half hour ago is kind of a weakish villain aspect of the film. But to me, it's understandable because there's so much going on with the heroes.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. Like, it doesn't take away the movie. And there is also one scene. It's in the airport, and it's the scene between Hawkeye and Black Widow that's been talked about for a long time. And I would say that it didn't work for me as I hoped it would.
Okay, well, it's in the trailer, so it's not spoiler.
Yeah,
so I know for those, you guys should know what we're talking about if you see
Yeah,
the
so I think those are the only two negatives. But again, it does not take me out of the film. Like, I'm not like, oh, that sucked. Like, I'm just like, okay, that just didn't work.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
and
something
we're
that didn't work.
totally nitpicking here.
Yeah, like
either of those, I'm sure, don't bother you that much.
I tweeted it out last night, and I've already told a couple. It's one of the most flawless films I've ever seen.
Definitely.
Ever. Like, from start to finish. I could not, while watching it, there wasn't one moment where I was just like, no, that doesn't work. That's not supposed to be in there. What are they doing? I'm just like, I was blown away. I kept just, yeah.
For example, I get what you're saying. For example, Star Wars: The Force Awakens. I absolutely love that film. So do you. It has its flaws, and I can name 5 flaws with that movie.
Captain Phasma, the whole Han Solo freighter scene. It's like,
you can name a lot of flaws with that movie. I cannot get past 1 or 2 flaws.
It's a true testament to what the Russos did and Kevin Feige and everybody.
So the general consensus going around is that who I guess you could say is the biggest villain in this film is the weakest part. But to me, so every story has to have a protagonist and an antagonist. That character is not the antagonist. Tony Stark is the antagonist. If you want to call him the villain, Tony Stark is the villain of this film. So I agree that who they tried to make the villain was not completely satisfying. And that could be considered a negative. But when you consider that he's not the villain of this movie, then to me it kind of is not that big of a flaw. And I do agree with you with the Black Widow and Hawkeye thing, because while the stakes are super, super high in this film, at the same time, I don't think either side was trying to kill one another.
I don't know. I mean,
but a lot of the action scenes could have easily killed someone.
See, I would have been fine with that scene, but the scene right before it was heavy, like definitely. Dark, in your face, like that kind of stuff. But then they threw that in there. And it may work for some people. I'm just like, I wanted to see that kind of continued on the dark, heavy stuff. So
yeah, well, there was a lot of humor in there, but it's not like something super dark and serious
Yeah.
what's going on, and then there was humor. So yeah, it's hard to judge. I really cannot think of any flaws. I technically didn't even mention a flaw. I was just kind of talking about what other people are saying are flaws. So yeah, it's really tough to critique this film because you can call us fanboys if you want, but we just loved it. It deserves the praise that we're giving it.
We're fanboys, but again, we do this movie stuff for a living, and we're
going to be honest about
the
film.
We give a great film our praise, man.
I'm a huge DC fan. I love Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and Lex Luthor, but that movie had problems, and it's nothing against. When you go back to the base of the characters in the comic books and the cartoons, I love Marvel and DC equally, but it's not. Marvel has knocked it out of the park for almost a decade now. It's nothing against DC. They just need to get the ball rolling, and I think they eventually will. So that's going to wrap up our spoiler-free review of Captain America: Civil War. But before we close it out, I just want to give people an idea of how we feel about the film with a score out of 10. So, Jake, what do you give Captain America: Civil War out of 10? It's tough.
I've gone back and forth with this, and I really want to go see it again before I kind of give a legit score, but
so do I. So these scores are they're not
official.
In stone.
Yeah,
they're not set.
We
in
might
stone.
end up getting
this
back on.
This is just how we feel about the movie after seeing it last night, less than 24 hours ago.
And with that, seeing it less than 24, I'm giving it a 10, dude. It's still fresh on my mind. I cannot stop thinking about it. Certain moments, and it's just, I'm sticking with a 10 out of 10 right now.
Man, it's so tough not to give it a 10, and I hate doing this. But I like giving for example, 8.5 or an 8 or 8.5 or a 9. But I hate doing this. I'm going to give it a 9.9 out of 10 because it's not completely perfect. So I'm going to have to give it a 9.9 out of 10. I know, stupid, right? But like Jake said, these aren't set in stone. Maybe I go watch the film again and actually that didn't work. So
we might end up getting back on later for like a second, like a re-review of it or something, just to clarify.
Well, thank you all for listening. That's going to wrap up our spoiler-free review of Captain America: Civil War. If you have seen the film, let us know what you thought about it. If you haven't, please check it out and then watch our spoiler discussion review that'll go up probably after this weekend, after more people have got a chance to see the film. All right, I want to thank Jake Berlin for joining me on this spoiler-free review of Civil War. Let them know where they can find you online.
Twitter, Instagram at Qui-Gon Jake, Apocaflixmovies.com every day.
And you can find me, Jacob Barley, on Twitter at JacobBarley_ on this Apocaflix Movies YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Please hit that like button to get some great podcasts, great movie news, the Padawan podcast, our All Star Wars podcast, our Rumor Central podcast, everything that we're doing over here at Apocaflix Movies. Check us out, subscribe, comment, like. We really appreciate it. Until next time, you all take care.